Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, definitely. Jeremy.
Yes.
I got a letter here from the lawyer about my outdoor furnace.
Yep.
According to DEP, that is not an outdoor furnace.
Right. I know the DEP told you that, and maybe according to their rules, but according to the way our ordinance is written, and that's why we had this sent to
He
you.
said in
Our ordinance identifies
his interpretation of it.
What's that?
He said in his interpretation of it.
Right.
Now, I got one more question for you. Was all the supervisors in accord with this letter?
Yes, I am. Bill, did you read that letter?
I didn't know anything about it. You guys went and did this and I had no clue you were doing it.
No, because you told them
No, you
people
didn't
it was
tell
all
them.
up to us.
No clue.
I found out about it
What, that
when
letter?
he brought me the letter to my house.
Okay. Yeah, but
So you
said-
guys are
Now, wait a
spending
minute.
money
No,
without.
wait a minute.
No, yeah,
You said and told them it was all up to me.
who did?
That's what you told down in the back row.
But you
Did they
still
come
have to
down,
have
you
an
said?
approval of the board to spend money, irregardless of what it is.
We
Nobody
went-
made a motion to go to the attorney. Nobody made a motion to.
We called the attorney to ask him a question. Because the problem was, we sent the letter, you know we sent the letter.
No, I didn't know you sent the letter, Franny. You guys
No,
had
I
it,
sent the letter.
wherever you had your meeting, is
It had
when you decided to send the
We
letter.
went up to talk to Howie, and we talked about putting it up higher.
Who's we?
Both of us
Both
went and
of us
talked to
went
both
and
of
talked
these
to
people.
Howie. You
Talked
knew all
to Howie
about
and
that.
his neighbor. And you knew
You know
that we
all
were
about
talking to these
that.
people. They've been
You
pushed
knew we was
off by
talking
you to
about
us
these people
several
about
times.
this chimney. Now, we went up there,
Nobody
and what
said
happened
anything to
was.
us at the meeting, and you know it. Want
You
to play
have
the
an
recording
ordinance
back?
on them
They were here at the
outside
meeting
furnaces.
last week.
Yes,
night.
now, we'll get to that. We'll
I
get to
know,
that.
I read in the paper all the time, buddy, houses 25 and 30 feet apart. They ain't even allowed to have outside furnaces.
Well, no, here's the thing, we have an ordinance, here's the thing. Lil even knows that they come down.
You got
Sid-
bad
Sid was-
smoke up there, I got a bad heart, and that's hard for the
No,
heart.
I understand
man.
this.
That's
Wait a
what I
minute.
do too.
Sid knows, he was down here how many times talking to Keith about this? And
Who
you know
was?
that.
Who was?
You come down the township here.
Oh, we're talking about this.
No, you're talking about the furnace.
No,
Yes, you come in here, because that's what they were telling me when I come
I
in here.
never come and talk to him about that.
Well, anyways, that's when you
The only
said, it's
person
up
I
to
talked
me.
to, was
That's
you,
right.
and trying to get a hold of Rippy to come up
Now,
there.
wait a minute, so we did. We went up and talked to you, and we talked to Howie about it. And we come to think that we had a letter sent out to Howie then, because of the ordinance, okay? That, to show him the ordinance, that our ordinance says anything within 300 feet has to be above the house, right? Now, wait a minute. Then, the DEP come down, and the DEP come down to state.
him.
Come down to him.
Not to us.
No, but you
Not
guys,
us,
no,
not
wait,
the
now wait a
township.
minute, you guys called him, so in the meantime, you got the letter about, just to tell him that we think that he's gonna have to put this up, because he's grandfathered under that law. So, we told him he'd have to put this up. Well, in the meantime, they called DEP, DEP come down. And DEP come down and said it was not, and now he's right. They come down and said it was not an outside furnace. So here we are, and that's why we called the attorney, to determine, is an outside furnace by our ordinance, or it is not an outside furnace to our ordinance. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not forcing anything on anybody. If it's an inside furnace, we don't have nothing to say about an inside furnace.
The lawyer says it's an outside furnace.
Well, he's concerned about the chimney, and that's what we're back
The
to.
chimney is nothing, it's been over a month.
Okay, well, go ahead, let Howie finish. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to know if all the supervisors were in accord with this, that's all. And if
Well,
I wasn't-
we've been talking back and forth for a month about this. And I even mentioned it in the garage to Keith about this. And if you remember, you
But
said
it's not
that-
a meeting. I'm saying to you, you went to the attorney
No, we
without
called-
anybody
We didn't go to
knowing,
the attorney.
or called him or whatever,
I called
but
him.
nobody else knew about it. I didn't know about it. You guys knew about it.
We called the attorney to ask that question. And then
There
he
was-
said, then he sent us this letter back stating that he thinks the chimney ought to be up above the house. So that's what that letter states. right, Howard? If that's what the letter states.
Yes, that's what the letter
So
says.
that's why I went to the attorney, because I don't wanna be between, is it an outside furnace? Cause DEP come down and says it's not an outside
And
furnace.
DEP said it's not an outside.
So-
DEP
this is
didn't
where
even
we're
look
at.
at it.
Yes, they did.
No,
I was,
they
No,
didn't.
they
I was
didn't.
there,
told
I
us-
was there when they
They
came.
told us he didn't go in
Roger,
there.
he told me on the phone that he couldn't even go in there because Howie had the paper saying it was an indoor furnace.
He came down, I opened the door, and he went in and looked.
Okay, wait a minute, wait.
He's the
Alls
only
I
one of
know,
us.
alls I know is DEP was down, okay? I know they come
Oh,
down.
he was down
They
there
said-
over there. He was supposed
I
to come and talk to
understand.
us. He was supposed to come
I
down here.
can't help,
And
now
he
wait a
never
minute.
did.
I can't help what DEP did do and didn't do. Alls I know is what they said. And DEP said it wasn't an outside furnace, so that's what changed my attitude about calling the attorney. Because I am not, if it's an inside furnace, I don't have much leeway to do anything, I don't think, okay? So that's why we called the attorney and asked him that question. You know, what is our right to continue on any further with this? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but
It's
we're
inside and
grandfathered
out.
in, so what right does anybody have to do anything?
What's that?
We're grandfathered in, what right does have anybody to do
Well,
anything?
that's what the attorney said. So,
The,
I
the
mean,
It
existing.
doesn't say anything in there about whether we're grandfathered in or not, because that question was not asked. You
No.
can't tell me that you
The
said that, because
new,
it's not in
no,
there.
in the ordinance, there's a section called the new or existing furnaces. The existing furnaces refer to the ones that were in that are grandfathered in that you're speaking of. You still have to have the chimney height in the new and
chimney
existing
heights,
furnaces section.
according to our ordinance, has to be there. That's the thing.
Not,
Even if it's
not
an
what
open-
I read on there, it doesn't.
Well,
I
that's,
got a copy of that too, and I didn't see it on there.
The ordinance, section 105D, chimney heights for new and existing outdoor furnaces.
But mine wasn't new, mine was
He said
existing.
it wasn't existing.
It's existing. Existing means that it's in
Yeah.
before the
Yeah.
ordinance.
it's new or existing.
It means it was there
So,
before the
And
ordinance.
by the way, he did add 8 more feet to the pipe. Okay, he
It's
added
not
8
enough.
more
Yeah,
feet, it's not.
but you
enough.
told me a week or two
8 more
ago.
feet, and he
Wait a
said,
minute,
wait a
you told
minute.
me a week or two ago
Yeah,
that he had a pipe
he said he was
and
gonna
you
get
wait
the pipe.
for him to call him.
I said, you call me and I'll help you put the other piece on.
Well, you know he's gonna drag his feet to
Well,
it.
now, wait a minute, I can't push somebody to do that.
Oh, bullshit.
Well, I'll
I
tell
gotta
you,
ask.
I feel sorry for Sid. If I lived where he lived, I'd carry one thing.
Well, that's why we're gonna get to the bottom of this.
There
So how are you-
wouldn't be,
What are we gonna-
some
what are we
purpose
looking at?
there.
I can't hear you, there's too
I
much
said,
talk
okay,
going
wait a
on.
minute, everybody be quiet now.
Hey, this ain't the fifties, yeah, all this smoke from that, this is the.
Now, we talked about going up another, what do you got there?
I got a petition against the furnace.
Okay.
I got
20 feet above the
videos
ground
and I got
or 20
pictures.
feet above
I
the
don't want to
ground.
push it, because I see it.
Bullshit.
I've seen it.
Did you see it?
24?
You didn't
Why,
see it?
yeah, I don't know. How
No,
he-
you didn't see these.
Now, wait a minute, he said it was all up to us, when you
How
guys
is the
talked.
stack right now on
He said,
that?
that's all up to us, Mr. Lilly said.
How
So
high?
that's why it's up to us.
How
See
high?
these
Above the
pictures?
ground?
I've seen
Right,
it.
from the
You
ground.
did not see these.
Ground
I
up
just,
is
I seen this.
23 feet.
I seen
23
it.
no, you didn't.
I've been up through there. I
You've
drove
been
by.
out
Minimum
through
of
there
20
in
feet
the
above the
daytime.
ground
Every
or
time
2
we
feet
called
above
you.
the peak of any
Yeah,
residence.
You right there.
Within 300 feet.
Jeremy
Not-
wasn't
not-
there either.
Yeah.
I call him, he says, I'm working. You can't get somebody 2-3 minutes, come up there?
I'm sorry, you're calling me at work, so that's where
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing.
No, it's
I've been
really-
to your house, Sid, to be fair, several
You guys
times.
are there when he ain't firing it up.
I've rode by a couple times
And
when
I'm
he's
not-
burning
I'm
just to
not
get a
down
look
there.
at it. I haven't, you
Don't-
know, I'm
you
not
have to show me, I'm not.
denying
doubting
you,
any
you're
of
having
it.
a problem
The
here.
idea is what to do
But that's
about
why we went to the attorney to get clarification on whether it was an outside
That's what
furnace
we're
or
gonna
not,
do.
which he says it is, so he's gotta comply with those stack limits that are set by
You
the
know what
ordinance.
else is the thing? If we go to sell that house later on down the line, ain't nobody gonna buy that house for that stinking old smoke.
Well,
That's putting the goddamn thing on
here's
our
the thing, that-
property.
the only thing that I think we could do is put the other piece on the top of that.
He's gonna have to go more than one piece.
Well, it's just gotta go above the house, according to our laws.
I don't think we'll make it.
It ain't gonna make it.
Well,
It's not gonna make it with
I
one
don't know
piece.
why.
Right, here's what I got. Why didn't he do the damn thing like he did it in the first place? Instead of
Well,
jerking around like
that's-
this?
I don't know, Sid.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why,
Why didn't he?
don't hold
Why
me
didn't you,
why.
Hubby? Why didn't you put it up 32
Hey,
feet like you had
okay,
the old one that
okay.
rusted?
All right now.
In the
let's
first
sit down.
place.
Hey, let's sit down so we get order here. I wanna talk about this, I don't wanna argue about this.
Well, this
I
too.
don't want, okay, sit down so we can talk about this, we're not gonna stand up
Here,
and fight
this
and
is
argue
here,
about this.
and that is there, so
That's
you don't
fine.
lose fingers.
I can lose them. go ahead and sit down so we can get order here, so we can
And
discuss
it's
it.
really a shame that they gotta watch us so they can see when we fire it up, and they gotta take videos,
Okay,
they gotta
wait.
take.
You don't have to watch.
Wait,
it.
hey,
don't
hey,
smell it.
hold
I
it,
don't have to
hold
watch
it,
it.
sit down, hey, sit down, that's enough now, that's enough. Sit down,
You don't have
we're here to
to.
discuss this, not to argue about it.
Well, right.
I told you, wait a minute, I don't want in the middle of it, I told you, in the middle of a neighbor argument, I don't want that. I'm trying to cure a problem, I'm just trying to cure a problem and cure it, okay? The only thing that we have the right to do is make them go above the house with the furnace, that's it,
It's not up there.
okay? And that's what I'm asking Howie, we're gonna put the other pieces on
That's
there
the
to go
issue
higher.
right there, isn't it?
I'll put one more piece on there to go
Two.
high.
You can't go.
But at the ordinance says above the house,
It'll be above the house.
above your nearest neighbor,
One is not enough.
so that's.
It says 2 feet, let's just,
2 feet.
instead of arguing and fighting and standing
Yeah, there's no
here,
sense in arguing and fighting, that's what the ordinance
Hang
doesn't
on.
do, that's as far as we
2
can go
feet
with it.
above the peak of our house.
hold on, please.
Hold
Let me-
on, there's no sense in sitting there arguing about it.
I think it's an acre house, so be so far above the neighbors.
It says 20 feet above the ground surface and at least 2 feet above any residence not served by the furnace, within 300 feet. How tall is the peak of your house, Sid?
2 story, I don't know how tall it is.
So,
Well, whatever, when you
so
look
we
at it,
figure
it
out
should
how
be
tall
above
your
the
house is and add 2 feet to it and it solves the problem, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, 2
So-
feet above the peak.
that's
2
the only
feet- 2 feet
thing,
is only one piece, and it's not.
well,
gonna
the
work.
idea is it don't matter about 2 feet.
Above the house,
The idea is above the house, that's it. So Howie, we willing to go with that? That's all we gotta do is put it up above that
I gotta
house.
find another piece of pipe first.
That's fine. Okay, that's it, that's all we can do. The thing is grandfathered, we can't shut it off.
You're gonna have to go up and measure the peak, that's all you
And,
can.
and that's no problem to do. I mean, the thing of it is, it's gotta be above the house. That's our laws, that's the law.
We don't care as long as it works, but like I say, hey, I got heart problems, he got heart problems, we can't smell that old smoke.
I agree with that, but you know,
You know,
even if,
no, we just
now
have to
wait,
go to the
if
Board of Health
you
and get
fire,
something
if you fire your stove up in your garage over there, you're gonna get it through the whole town too.
No, I mean,
Ah,
no.
I do believe that.
I don't
No,
believe
do
that.
believe that.
I
It don't
drink
matter.
cold and I don't even read
Listen,
any
I'll tell you, I'm
smoke.
gonna go, and why, another thing that I asked this question to the attorney, because not only you two arguing about it, I got other ones arguing about this. And my biggest thing about this being above the next house beside you, okay, I had a problem with this, because how about if you're in an elevation like this? Where do you stop with the stack? You understand what I mean? So, I mean, the attorney did kinda suggest different ideas with that. Now, that all changes with, I mean, you're not in that position because your ground is pretty much level from house to house. But when you get in different areas where these other complaints are coming, here's where, well, I was more concerned about in this. What are you gonna do when you get in the elevations where this house is up here and this guy down here is burning? You're gonna make the guy go 200 feet above that house?
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that.
You gotta get better ordinance in.
Change the ordinance.
Well, the ordinance is what it is.
I read in the paper
So-
all the time, they have
So
a
now,
problem with these.
there is elevations in here too for one step to another step. So that was a big thing why I called too, to ask that question. So, just to say, that's why I wanted to watch when I said above somebody's house. So if I make that decision here, saying, okay, it's gotta be above Howie's house, right? So the guy down the road calls and has an elevation like this, okay? He's gonna come back to me and say, well, sir, you told him it has to be above my house, and his house is right up here, but he's
It's gotta
300
be
feet
above,
away.
it's gotta be above the neighbor's house, people.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the neighbor's house, yes, but I'm just trying to tell you, if your neighbor is an elevation this high, where do you stop with the stack height? That's what my question was. You
Drop it
understand
till you
me?
can't smell the smoke.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard when you get up so
I
high.
got the next door neighbor to me, he's running the furnace,
Yeah.
he's running article.
Well, Howie
You
said
can't
he'd,
even smell
Howie said he would take care of that, right, Howie? Gonna go up above the house, and that's all we can do. And that's what I've been
it.
sticking
It
to.
has to be, it has to be running.
That's what I've been sticking to this whole thing. The only thing that threw it off is when DEP come down there and said it's not an outside furnace.
It ain't, in my opinion.
He brought it from his
Yeah.
house and put it outside.
Well, I'm just
It
saying,
might be different if it's a modern furnace too, but
Yeah.
it's an antique furnace.
It's not
Well-
an antique furnace.
Oh,
Well,
how many years was
there's
it in
no
our
argument.
house?
Hey,
How many years was it in your
hey,
house? How many
hey,
years was
okay,
it
it's
in
a
your
done
mother's
deal.
house?
It's done. We're not arguing about it no more. We only can do what we can do. And right at this position, we're only gonna make, man's gonna put it up above the house.
Above our house.
That's it. Yes, it's gotta be above your house, not his. their house, okay? And he's already pretty close, I can't tell you what feet it is, but it's pretty close. Okay, that's it.
Ain't even near close.
Don't matter, it's gotta be above that house, that's it. Okay, that's all we can do, that's what our ordinance goes to, and that's what the attorney said to do. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay? Next, over on this side?
No,
The only thing I have to say is that since this new supervisor board has taken over, things have been done. You know, people are being real negative about everything, but I have heard people, and I myself had complaints for years, and they were never addressed. You know, they'd look at them, oh yeah, we're gonna do something about it, and I have to give you this credit, that at least somebody goes and looks at it. And, no, they do, they try to come up with a remedy, they really do.
They
I
never,
mean-
they never saw what was going on at
Hey,
9
I
o'clock,
live
9
in
or 7
Forest,
o'clock. and
I live
know.
in Forest where the houses
Okay,
are
well, we're done.
elevated,
We're done with the furnaces, go ahead.
you know, but I'm just saying that I think there's a lot, you know, people are putting things on the internet, we're in the newspaper, we're on the news, and why? I mean, if things
Well,
are
that's
being
serious.
taken care of and looked into, it's kind of petty. I think that every little thing is picked apart. We're supposed to be adults. We need to take care of business and forget about all the pettiness. That's all I have to say. I gotta give it to you.
Okay, right, you have anything to say? You okay? Okay.
It's safe to talk about another ordinance?
Go ahead, don't talk about smoke though, okay, go ahead, go ahead.
On that there, tank up the park. Did you do anything about that?
The tank at the park.
The holding
Um,
tank?
yeah, we looked at that, and, have to be above the board here, but, the only thing I see to do, and I think that because of that one statement in that ordinance, here we are at the ordinances again. Because of that one statement with the ordinance, you guys won't put the holding tank in up there.
We
Because you
will,
wanna
but
run
we're
water.
like, he won't sign it.
He won't sign it,
Right.
but it's not a state law, it's because it's in our ordinance, it says that a holding tank can only be in there for, what, 2-year period. So, I mean, I think that's crazy, nobody's gonna put a holding tank in for 2 years. You know what I mean, if they're gonna put it in, and if somebody wants a camp or a summer home to use it, myself, that ought to be taken out of there. That's a board decision, and if you guys would want to, and pay for it. That's something I've been thinking about. If you guys wanna take that little article out of there, so that don't come up again. And it would help others out in the future, I think, because of the 2-year clause that we have, and it's nothing to do with the state, he told
What
us.
was the reasoning that it's in there?
That fell in because of Act 537 is what brought it on, because of, to be able to do the sewage modules and the planning for sanitary sewer system, which I understand doesn't help the situation at hand that you have, but that's what brought that on was Act 537. That was actually a requirement.
That's a requirement?
It's not a requirement for the state.
I'm not saying it's a requirement for the state, it was a requirement for the Act 537,
So it's
it was for the sewage.
Would it hurt to take it out at this time?
I don't know, it's something you'd have to ask the attorney. I don't know. I can't answer that.
If they would pay for that little changeover, the historical club would pay for that, would the board approve to send that to the attorney and have that? It's only a little piece stating that,
They're just one line.
just one line is all it is, it's screwing up everything. It's one line in the ordinance, and he won't sign the permit for the holding tank because it says 2 years, and they wanna keep it there permanent. Cause they probably only use it for the summertime or a few things on
Well,
there.
most of the uses, visitors coming in use it more than any of them.
So I mean,
And I understand the whole aspect of it, and I'm not saying, that's something that somebody else is gonna have to answer because of the Act 537. I don't know that the board can answer tonight. You know, I think they're gonna have to ask if that deviates or changes anything because of the Act 537. But I'm not opposed to taking it out if that's what it is. I mean, I can understand for anybody that's out of the reach of the sanitary sewer system, yeah, it's gonna help them out.
should we ask the attorney if there's any problem with it taking that out of there? I mean, it's a little piece of thing, it's kinda screwing things up, as far as I'm concerned.
Where you got it further up on the front of it, I mean, the top of it, then it's all right, and then you got this
It's
one
all right to
line
put in.
on the bottom
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it holds you to that that
2-year max.
Yeah.
Galen, and I think the reason that was put in there was because some of these people, when they come into town, and there's a good situation, there was one in Scattertown that was on a holding tank that was allowed because sewage wasn't there yet, but it was proposed to be there. So it was allowed to have that holding tank, and that's my understanding of it, was because of the Act 537. And then once sewage come through, then they had to hook on.
Right, okay.
But I think that's why it was put in there. It was long before I was even here, but I think it was all because of.
If we would go and ask the attorney, would you guys be willing to pay for the change? If we could pay the change. I mean, I don't think it would cost that much to take it out. I mean, it'd probably cost $300-400, I would imagine, anything to do with an attorney.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't know, maybe not even that much, I don't know.
Just to take one line though.
Well, you
But
have to
would
take
that,
the
it
line
would end
out.
up being an amended.
We'd have to amend it,
ordinance.
then it'd have to be in the newspaper for, for that month and, stuff like that.
Well, why don't you call him up and see what, if,
Yeah.
it
First we-
costs, and take it to the board and see what they wanna do.
If
They
you-
weren't too happy about it Tuesday night, but.
But that's the only other way I could see using a holding tank, otherwise you ain't gonna put it in for 2 years.
Well, we can go the other way if we don't.
Okay, do you want us to proceed it on, is what you're
Yeah.
saying?
If.
Find out if we can or not before we
Right.
even mention it, do it?
Right, and if we're not, we'll go the other way.
Okay, all right, next. You have something to say? Start back there, go ahead. Sid?
You know what my concerns are.
Oh, yes, I think we're taking care of that, go ahead.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
There was a letter sent out to Howie. And
That's
it
the
was
first one.
dated. It was dated
Yep.
September 10th.
Yeah,
He had 30 days to do this. Is he in violation of the ordinance?
no, I don't think so, because that's why it changed everything when the DEP come down there. That's what made me call the attorney to ask some questions. Because I don't wanna step over the boundary line and make somebody do something when I don't have the authority to do it, because it was an inside furnace. You see what I'm saying? That just kinda, I think, throwed it out of camera for me. Because at first, I was all for saying that was it, you know what I mean? That's what the ordinance says, the only thing, we can't move the thing, we can't shut the furnace off, all we can do is a stack. And DEP comes down and says, oh, that's not an outside furnace, okay? So then I just put everything to halt, because I don't know now. I'm in the middle of this and I don't know.
According to the ordinance, you have the authority to do stuff and you're not doing it.
I'm doing what it says to do. That's all I can do, making them get the stack up to our ordinance. After that, there's no other thing. Do you guys see anything else that we can go from beyond that? I'm asking you, do you see anything else?
Not off the top of my head at this time, no.
I
There's a
mean,
lot of health
I've read
issues
it.
involved in that.
The what?
There's a lot of health issues involved in that.
I understand, but I can't prove the health issues. Okay, I have no way of proving the health issues. I don't, you know what I'm saying?
It's all over the place. Just look it up, Franny, if you know how to
I
use
know,
a
but
computer.
it's not in the ordinance as far as we to take care of that problem, you know? We'd have to
So
prove
does
that.
that mean
and
that you're
everything.
not gonna look it up to find out?
I'm gonna make the stack that's higher than the house, that's
I didn't
it.
know what I asked you.
Me,
Yeah, you.
we'd have to prove that's what's making us you sick. We'd have to prove that.
Now, I'm
How am I
talking
gonna
about the
prove
health
that?
hazards about everybody in the neighborhood.
Smoke, as long as it's regular wood burning and fuel costs, it ain't bad stuff they're burning, there's not much we can do with it.
There's a lot of chemicals, carbon monoxide, carbon
I
dioxide.
understand that.
It-
But as long as they're burning what they're allowed to burn in a furnace, there's not much you can do. Now, if there's things that they're burning in a furnace, they're not allowed to burn, making, like rubber and stuff like that, now that's a different story. Someone's burning tires, we can take care of it. Well, I've stopped people from burning tires, I've stopped people from burning wire, but you can't just go over there and stop them from burning just wood in this fireplace, or coal. Coal's terrible too, a lot of sulfur and coal, but I can't go make the man stop burning coal. I can't do it. Something bad? Yes, I can.
Doesn't the ordinance say the 102, I think it is in the ordinance? Say that you have the power to do more than what you're doing.
I don't think the power, that's what I asked the attorney for. And the only power I
You
have
didn't
to
have
make
to
that
ask the
stack
attorney,
out.
it's right there.
No, not in that case. You have lots more power if they're putting a new one in. Then you can, it wouldn't even be there if it was a new one. But not once things are there, it's pretty tough. If you guys don't see nothing, I mean, they see something else that they can do, that's up to them too, you know? But, I said the stack in the first place, and that's what I'm sticking to, is the stack. But when the DEP changes things, that's what changed it for me. Go ahead, you got anything, Bob?
Yeah, I got a couple things.
Okay.
First of all, as government officials in a second-class township, the Sunshine Law places certain restrictions upon you as far as gatherings, etc. As far as the necessity of all three supervisors being involved. Yesterday, on 2 different occasions, I was up and down Apple Street, 9:15 and 10:22. And Jeremy's vehicle was parked at your residence.
He's allowed to park at my residence, come in my house, and have coffee and talk all he wants.
Okay, so was it deliberation of township business? To me, it would be difficult for me to see how that would happen. Where you two would be together for over an hour and not be involved in deliberation of township business.
We go out every day, Bob, and look at things. We're out every day.
I think that is a little bit different. When you sit down and talk about things, it's going into the realm of deliberating township business.
Talking about
And for
things
that
going
matter,
on.
there was an additional vehicle there. There was a Burgundy GMC, I think.
Hey, wait a minute, I'm not talking about things in my driveway. That has
Well,
nothing to do with anything.
You're accountable to the public, Fran.
I'm accountable for what?
For being open to the
Who comes
public
to my
and
house?
deliberations.
Who comes to my
When
house?
Jeremy Rippey, as an elected official or a government official in a second-class township, spends an hour at your township, I think there is a level of accountability for his presence and your presence, and it raises a question in my mind, are you deliberating township business?
I'll say no.
You can say no.
Okay,
But
continue
once again,
on.
there's still a question in my mind.
That's your mind, continue on.
Okay, and I don't know, Keith wasn't invited, right, Keith? Okay.
Well, the township meeting, continue on.
You got a little click going here, you and Jeremy.
Okay. Go
Okay.
ahead.
How's it feel to be on the other side of it?
Yeah.
Second question.
Go ahead,
How's it feel
Bob.
to be on the other
Hey.
side of
Well,
things?
John, I think I'm addressing the.
Okay.
I don't think
I
there's
think
anything
I'm
about
talking to the
deliberation.
board. Could we have a
I think
little
I can
order?
deliberate.
Hold it, I'm gonna give order.
Your
Your minutes are gonna run
Sorry.
out. Go ahead,
Well,
wait,
when
his
he's
minutes.
stepping
Go
on it,
ahead,
yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
gonna know.
Go ahead,
When he's
continue.
stepping on him. Okay, the next question, I submitted 3 letters
Yeah.
in correspondence. Those letters are not listed.
We
Why?
took them out of there because it's
Oh,
the same, wait a minute.
wait.
I talked to Jeremy read them, and I looked at them, and I said, I will have nothing to do with them because they are just repeats of everything that went on
So
through the
you
whole
and
summer.
Jeremy met and.
No, we
you
were
missed-
right here.
We were right here in
We
the
were right
office.
here.
So you two
He read 'em.
deliberated and
I
made a
called
decision.
PSATs,
He
and
went
I
to
asked them to
PSATs
make a
and asked
decision,
them.
and I
Once
told Debbie
again-
I didn't want them on there.
Because, you know,
We're
Bob,
tired
it's
of the same
thing.
old stuff
Once
over and
again,
over from you,
It's not the
Mr. Cobb.
same old stuff, this
It's
is
the
new
same.
The
stuff.
same 3
old
titles,
stuff.
Bob, the same 3
What-
titles,
Bob, once
Caledonia
again,
Bridge and the pump
Listen,
station.
3 minutes are running out. I told you, when we looked at them, it was the same thing that went on all summer long.
No,
You
it
keep
didn't.
bringing it up, bringing it up.
So you
Same
and Jeremy,
things of the story, same
once
things
again,
of the
you and
bread.
Jeremy met and decided not to put those letters in correspondence.
We sat right, I called PSATs to ask them if you could
Once
keep
again,
doing
this
that.
was Keith, were you involved in that decision?
No,
You weren't involved in the decision.
He has the
strike
right
those
to
letters from
read
the
that stuff and
correspondence.
come out here and say he
Aren't there
wants to
3
change it.
supervisors in this
There
township?
sure is.
Shouldn't they have convened and decide, and what's gonna be the
Listen.
future criteria, whether it's
Listen.
correspondence, whether items are gonna be in the correspondence or not?
They're being
It's
the
gonna-
correspondence as long as it ain't repetition all the time, the
Well,
same thing, Bob.
Is
Okay.
Are these
That's it.
on file,
What's on file?
those letters, or did you just trash them?
Nope, they're here.
They're on
They're
file.
here. I got a
But you
copy
are
of
not
them.
gonna put them in the
I got a
correspondence
copy.
listing.
I'm not putting them in no correspondence or repetition stuff.
Well, if you consider
Okay.
it repetition, that's
It's
fine.
repetition, is what it is. Okay.
And you and
up
Jeremy
here.
are making the decision.
Up here? Bogovich? You have anything to say?
Not just yet.
Okay. All right, let's continue down the
well,
line.
hold on a minute. I got 3 letters here that I did look at, and I looked at the other ones. They're not the same. There's different questions and criteria on each one of them. And,
Well, you can look at them, most is all repetition and.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people-
Things.
Well, what?
Well,
This is a
I'm
free
just telling
country, Franny, correspondence.
It's a
Do you
free
guys read
country.
your supervisor's handbook by any chance?
Yeah, but it's the same thing over and
No,
over
it
and
isn't.
every time.
Right, there was
Be
never a
fast.
letter about
Okay,
all
it's
of
done, we're continuing
Has to
on.
be things that need to take
Okay,
action.
so you're not gonna have correspondence anymore
Approval of the bills,
from anybody.
Not stuff like that.
not
just
time
plain old
after time.
garbage.
So,
Repetitive garbage, it's nothing that
People are
requires
getting
board
tired of
action,
it, the
it's not an
newspaper coming
official
out,
letter
same
from
thing, time
any
after
agency
time.
or department or an attorney.
And
That's
we-
exactly
so
what
we
these
only,
ads say.
we only take letters from official agencies.
No, what needs to be put into the
What
agenda
needs
is
to
the
be
only
put in
things
the
that we
agenda.
require
That's
action
it.
upon.
Okay.
PSAT's exact word.
Okay, so the freedom of speech and the freedom of everything is, you
No.
guys are taking care of that now.
No, but.
Harassment from letters like
I don't know, is that
Same thing
harassment?
after and after.
Over and over and over again, I think it is
Is
harassment.
it
You follow
harassment
around
to
and having your
suggest
picture taken
security
is
camera?
harassment. Excuse me?
Is it harassment to suggest a security camera for observing the,
And you should have just said a security camera,
Well, that's what it does.
not
say.
everything else.
It builds a case for it, doesn't it?
I don't think.
I think it does.
This isn't
Okay.
court of law there, Bob, to build a case in.
Well,
Yeah.
Approval
well,
of
then you told me
bills.
the last
You
time.
were
That's
here,
it.
you were here for a
That's
lot
it.
of years,
That's
okay?
it.
You
We're
had
not
your chance
arguing
to
the
make your
point.
choices.
Case
I-
closed.
well,
Okay, treasurer's report. Oh, approval of the bills next. Take a look at the bills. $1,000.
The parts, the work parts.
Let the
Get the
seal.
invoice out.
No, not right now, but I mean,
The seal and the bearing and 2 spacers.
and 2 spacers, that was $1,000 for them 3
$1,000.
items. I mean, I know it was a big job for the motor, but it just.
Well,
for
the
a
job
seal.
is, that has nothing to do with this is parts alone, 4 pieces.
Yeah. Okay, I just had to ask a question, because I know what we put into it, and it just didn't seem like it should have been $1,000.
What you have to do is take that up with the
You know,
case people.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, I just couldn't see a seal on that being $1,000. But that's, I mean, other than that, that's what I seen in there.
Hand soap, $211. How much hand soap is that?
The whole case.
How much is it? I mean, how many?
Well, it's.
They're those
It's
gallon tubs.
gallon, yeah.
Alright. Can you only buy it by the case?
Yeah.
Do we have to buy that much at one time?
Yeah, well, last time we bought it was probably 8 years ago.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking. When I saw hand soap for $211, I wondered how much it was.
Yeah. The last time we bought it, E&G was still in business.
And gas, again, is up to $500 for the month, and I don't understand why that gas bill is so high every month, just for gasoline.
Firemen use it.
Are we getting the receipts that are marked for the firemen? Do you know how much they've used last month, or?
It's in the receipts, all those stuff,
Okay, I'll look at that then to see what they're using. I know they only, talking to John there last weekend, they only have the 2 brush rigs that use gasoline, everything else is diesel. Okay. Those are my questions.
Okay. Any other questions of the bills here?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report?
General fund checking, 18.
Okay. Road maintenance?
And that,
Oh, you don't have it? You have one, I don't.
Did you read the correspondence?
Oh, yeah. We skipped one, sorry.
did you make a motion to pay the bills on this end?
Yes, we
Take
did.
your breath
Yes,
there.
we did.
No, I did.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Jeremy made it, I
Okay,
second.
look at correspondence. Look here. All right, go ahead.
Number 1, Jay Township Water Authority, meeting minutes, water conservation notice on website. 2, Jay Township Sewer Authority, meeting minutes. 3, all county commissioners, meeting minutes. 4, Tom Coppell, outdoor furnace issue. 5, Betty Lair, sewer board reappointment.
Out here, the new one will be started. Ain't quite done yet, but we got to start on it. So. Okay. For the 2012 budget, we've got to start on that. Make any comments on that?
What are you proposing?
Did you get the figure from the county, did that give you that figure of $8,000 for the liquid fuel grant?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Is there any other changes on it that we think we ought to do?
I don't know. What do you got?
Well,
the way it stands, you're what, 10,000 short in the state fund and 7,000 to the good in the general fund, so. You know, some changes have to be made or in order to approve it, can't do that.
Okay, what are you guys' changes, because I have mine.
All right, what would you like?
I don't know, go for it, start her out.
Go ahead.
No, you guys are the ones that had the changes. What's your changes?
well, now this 2,500's gotta stay to 3,500 here. I was just pointing out on that point there, that it should have been 3,100 on when we did the budget. I was looking at the old budget and this from the lender should have been 31. So this changed that to 35. There's no way we're gonna go down to 25, change that to 35. Cause that's what you're gonna spend on your that's on your, dust oil. Okay, I was down to 31.41, that's what it said in the ledger, instead of being 35. On the budget that we talked about the other night would be the 31, what we actually spent.
What category are you talking?
Just the dust oil.
The dust oil.
Yeah, we had this at 25.
It'd be helpful for everybody if you mentioned.
There's no way that we're gonna do it for 25, we gotta put the 35 in that category.
Okay, well, that's gonna raise that budget.
I mean, that's gonna make you're never gonna do it for the 25. So anything else, suggestions we see before we?
You wanna make that line 438 dust oil 35,000 is what you're saying?
Yeah,
That's
it was
what we spent
31 last year, and it did 31 last year, or no, I mean, it was 15 last year. 2011, right? And you already spent the 31. Well, you actually spent 40 some, except for people paying and stuff
No,
like
you
that.
didn't, it's been 35.12.
For
And
all
you gotta
of-
take the 8,000.
Yeah, and the 2,000. 2,000 liquid fuel money on the other side come out of that too, for that. Or the $5,000 come out of the, dust oil.
But that's in the state fund, so.
But that's in the
I'll look
state
at that
fund.
number.
But I think that can't be 25, we can't leave it at the 25. Cause that just keeps going up and up and up with everything else. Anything else we see?
So our actual expenses last year was 27.12.
That was just our total for that anti-skid after everybody
Well,
paid for it.
That's what the total was, but then, if you remember, we discussed it, you went out and did a couple of projects on top of that, which raised the cost of that this year, from the actual $20,000.
So you're saying to keep it at 31?
Keep it at 25.
Keeping it 25. That's raising it to $10,000 as it is for the cost of oil. It was $15,000 is what it was budgeted at in 2011.
And we still don't have to do Mountain Zion. I don't do that area because it's still under the bond. So
Right.
we don't have to do none of that area this year. We don't have to do the other road either this year.
Right.
Or what's that, the old burn down road, that's all under bond too. So them two roads we don't have to do this year. Okay, probably leave it at 25 or 30.
So that's not changing any part of it.
No, my suggestion was to take $50,000 that we have in that CD that we had earmarked for the paving project this year and move it into the general fund before the end of the year, if need be, and that's why I'm saying if need be before the end of the year, because we have more money coming in from wage tax yet, and a few of all the taxes are low right now. I mean, obviously maybe some people don't have the ability to pay right now, but there's gonna be more money coming in between now and the end of the year. But if need be, between now and the end of the year, we can move that CD into the account.
Yeah.
Because we've already incurred some expenses out of that CD.
I'd like
That
to,
were out of that paving project.
I'd
That
like
CD
to
was meant
see,
to cover.
I'd like to see that 50,000 as much as possible that we can hang on to, go for the.
Well,
driver.
yeah, that's the goal there too. We're only talking about a difference of how much money between the two again.
Because I think Gardner Hill is gonna be, that's gonna be our expensive,
One was
Next
7
year.
to the good and one was 10 to the bad, so we're only looking at $3,000 in total between the two funds, state fund and general fund. So we have to come up with either make a few cuts to come up with it or infuse some of that CD money in.
Did you, I guess, yeah, did you try to sit down and figure it out instead of pulling $50,000 out of savings to put into the budget to?
The $50,000 we put in the CD last year for this paving project we had this year. We already discussed it at the budget meeting that we spent extra money on stone on that road, we spent extra money on DCED paperwork.
I understand that, Jeremy, I'm not saying that,
Where
I'm
this
saying,
money was
did you
intended
go
to
back
go.
and look at the budget and see if you could change to make the budget that we talked about balance without
No,
pulling
that's what I just said,
$50,000 out of savings?
the two options are to put that in or to cut, I just said that.
Well,
But you're gonna need money in January and February at the beginning of the year, just like every other year, before the money, your next year's tax money starts coming in. So, in my opinion, at some point in time, you're gonna end up putting that CD in. That's my opinion. I'm just voicing my opinion.
well, I understand, I'm just, you know, I went back through.
I'm not looking for an argument,
I'm
I'm
not
just trying to
looking for an
get
argument, I just
the
went
table
back through.
discussing the issue.
I just went back through and did some numbers, and I came up with total expenditures of $342,845 with a total income of $349,548. And on the state fund expenses of $152,615 with a state fund income of $157,833.
And where are you making cuts to? So
Well,
we all know what you're doing.
okay, what I did was on the dust oil end of it, which is growing as in leaps and bounds with the cost of oil.
And stone.
And
higher
stone.
now this year.
I understand.
Mhm.
And,
Delivery of it costs more.
took, get to my note page. If you cut back on the, on the oil application from 3/10 to 2/10, which we've done in the past in areas. Now, if you have an area that's really bad, you put the 3/10 down where it's cracking or busting up. But the places that are relatively smooth and in good shape, if you cut back and put 2/10 oil down, you're cutting the cost of the budget of oil by 1/3.
What are you cutting it with?
You're cutting it by 1/10.
Cutting it with what? Just cutting it out?
Yeah, you're eliminating it. What I'm saying to you is, if you got a section of these roads that's real smooth,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you cut the truck back to 2/10 of oil on that, instead of shooting it at 3/10.
I understand, but how many roads do we have that we can
Yeah.
get away
Well,
with that?
that's the
You know what I mean?
Previous years, we've had quite a few.
Right, well, I know we didn't do a
The
couple
guy
roads this
sat
year
on-
because they
actually
were
on
in
the
that
back
kind
of
of
the
shape
truck
that we
and-
didn't feel they needed
Go
to.
by that, or?
I understand that.
Does the guy actually sit on the back of the truck and say 2/10, 3/10 more?
No, you just turn the dial on the truck and set it for 2/10. The truck does it itself.
I mean, as long as they have the ability to do that. I don't know how much. they
So-
put out in
Overall, you're saying 1/3, but we don't know how many roads we could get away with that. I'll have to look at that.
Well, it works out, previous years where about every 3 years you could do this. And like I said, you're in pretty good shape and you're not doing Mount Zion, you're not gonna have the top of Old Burndale. You know, a lot of these roads that are,
Right, yeah, we discussed, a lot of them are being bonded and maintained by companies right now. Okay. Well, what kind of deduction did that make according to what you figured out there?
well,
Out of your dust oil and your stone?
the dust oil and stone, it changes the dust oil, if you go 1/2, you know, you're saving about, right around $10,000.
Okay, on oil.
Yeah.
And you're taking that directly out of that state fund?
Mm-hmm. So you're moving that.
No, that's, you know, it's getting the state fund. So out of the general fund? line four
Well,
thirty-eight.
well, you're taking out, you're taking 5,000, let me get my note. You're
Yeah,
taking
5,000
5,000 out of
Of the state.
right,
Okay,
so that,
gotcha.
So you're gonna cut that down to 4,000, take 1,000 off of that.
Cutting that down to 0, right? Or-
yeah, well, I mean, let's see, 0.
Right.
Okay, why don't I just give you a copy of what I did, you guys look it over.
Let's look it over, that'd be the easiest thing to do. Give us, have her make a copy of it tonight and we'll.
I just don't feel comfortable with, and this is why I say that, you guys wanted to put that carryover in the budget last year,
I would,
I don't think it looks good, because, you know, actually in 2009, the carryover we had was $91,551. In 2010, it went to $37,800. And, you know, you're looking at the budget now, without this $50,000, you're in the hole. So
Well,
I think
that
the budget needs to be
$50,000
addressed.
was, yeah, oh, I agree with you, but that $50,000 was taken directly out of last year's money from the general fund.
Well, it was taken out of a windfall that we got for,
So was that 91,000 that you were talking about in that year that you started with your carryover? I reviewed all this.
oh yeah, I'm not arguing that, but
Beginning
we
of
didn't
last
put it
year's
in as,
budget.
we always had that money as a
Well,
cushion.
if you look at the
Well, why
township
don't you,
news last time, carryover should be the very first item on every budget. It's
Best
right
thing
in
we
the back
could do
page, question and answer.
is get a copy.
That's why
match
the
it up,
carryover was put in there.
and see what it comes out to, then we can, go ahead and get that, whatever changes we need.
Yeah, we can review the copies, we're probably gonna have to sit down and have another budget meeting.
Oh, I agree, I'm just saying,
yeah.
I
I agree with that,
just think we need to try to make the budget work without taking money out of the
okay.
bank to make it work.